from 1998.
Asaase Radio, 99.5.
Asaase Business.
Asaase Business.
Asaase Business AM.
Problems are business opportunities, and we here at Asaase believe in solutions. Good morning and welcome to Asaase Business AM.
Asaase Business. Asaase Business.
Asaase Business.
Asaase Business AM.
Today we will be talking about two things. It is Tech Monday, we know, and we don't plan to disappoint our faithful listeners. But there is also something happening to our economy, and we would like to share the news with you during our updates. We're going to focus on our city and how our economy is performing. Now to technology. It has the potential to transform aspects of our educational system. Our educational system is very important to our economy, all right? We are going to be talking about aspects of our educational systems. Education technology, or EdTech, is definitely an exciting area in Africa because of the growing population. Now, EdTech provides 24/7 access to learning, and it is critical if we want to ensure that the next generation gets the best possible education and become gainfully employed. An influx of technology in education is opening up new avenues of learning for students of all ages, while also promoting collaboration and inclusivity in the classroom. Now, EdTech has almost reversed the brain drain phenomenon in Africa into brain gain opportunities, with top universities offering cloud courses and making available similar learning experiences to locals who would have otherwise not have had a chance to enjoy certain educational understandings, as it were. It looks like technology in the classroom is here to stay. Now, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has also emphasized this. For that reason, it is vital to understand the benefits EdTech brings in the form of increased communication, collaboration, and overall quality of education. All right, now, before we go to the updates, our special updates for today about the economy and about the city, we will ask our panelist, our first panelist, Oswald Anunadaga, to tell us something, to share something about education technology in education in general. Hi.
Hello. Yes. So technology is changing everything, and we are getting to the point where we'll no longer call it technology, but just what it's the new way of doing things, and we just call it education and just tools for education. And so at the moment we have a lot of issues with education delivery, learning delivery across the world, not just in Ghana. And the traditional way of educating people has a reform that is long overdue for probably hundreds of years. And we are still using textbooks from times that did not consider the kind of resources and technology that we have at the moment. At the moment, we are looking at things in an assembly line kind of manner, where everybody is born, then you go into the mill, and then you are beaten up into a shape that fits into society. And the thing is that being shaped, the way we are currently being shaped for society is being defined by theories and methods and recommendations from people and books that were created in times that do not know anything about how things are being done now.
I had this chat with an academic some time back, I think about 2-3 years back, who told me that our educational system across the world, not only in Ghana, is much like what we had during the Roman period.
Yes, where young people would go out and do a lot of crazy things, so you would need to lock all of them in a room and then force them to learn and kind of guard the place to make sure no one goes out to do anything else. And so a reform is long due, and I think that technology has presented us with the opportunity to take that new step and to reform our educational system by making it accessible. The main issues with technology delivery is access, quality, and then content. So with access, a lot of people need to go somewhere, and we're talking about brain drain. people needed to travel outside the country to access a certain quality of education or certain kinds of learning. But now you can sit here and take courses from Harvard. And during the COVID-19 time, edX was offering a lot of Harvard courses for free. And so you have a lot of people with Harvard courses and certificates who never went to the US.
And these are being recognized.
Yes, and being recognized across the world. And so that has actually improved access, has improved quality. When we talk about education, we say, look, we have all young people are in school these days. But what's the difference in the quality of education that a Class 5 student in Accra is receiving compared to a Class 5 student in Boko receiving? Like, there's a very big difference. And so there are very large gaps in quality of education, and it's not just about the number of people who are sitting in classrooms that need to be addressed. But technology actually helps to bridge that. That means that you have someone who is recognized as a top professional, being able to teach and deliver content. Maybe you take a teacher who is, let's say, Accra. Generally, Accra will have a higher standard of education, better quality of education than Boko. And then you have quality teachers, top teachers who teach courses, and then you deliver them through technology. So everybody across the country receives a certain level of quality of education through education technology. And then comes the content aspect, which has to do with the various types of things that we are learning. We no longer need to look at static pages in books and then imagine things to learn. We can actually watch video and experience places. There's virtual reality technology, and this is an example that I use a lot. We learn about Lake Bosomtwe in class 5 or so, and we just read about it. And then you need to go on a class trip and then travel there. But today, virtual reality can allow someone to go there, take a 360 video of that, and then all you need is like a virtual reality headset or a phone with maybe like Google Cardboard or something, and then you can sit in your classroom and experience a whole tour, a recorded tour of Lake Bosomtwe. You can look around, you can see the place and experience it. So there are new content types that need to be integrated into our educational system, and a lot of organizations and businesses, including us, are doing certain things to help to bridge those gaps.
All right, so when we come back, we'll hear more about EdTech, that is education technology. For now, we're going to go to Nana Oye for the updates. What do you have for us today? I mean, I just told everyone what do you have for us today, but, can you give us a bit of...
How was your weekend?
My weekend was great.
Okay. I like the pink I'm seeing. Is it baby pink or
fuchsia
pink?
It's fuchsia pink. Yeah, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I make sure I have my touch of pink. Yeah. And Karen has a touch of pink as well.
Yeah, pink in her dress. She doesn't have any pink.
But I'm wondering.
She does.
She does. But it's so. Yeah. The thing is, I realized that the women at Asaase wear less pink than the men.
Can we go to the update now?
All right,
so the Bank of Ghana says all the leading indicators point to a significant growth in the economy for quarter 3 and 4.
All right, then, when we come back.
Good morning, welcome to the update on Asaase Business AM. I am Nana Oye. To our very first story, and the recent MPC meeting gave a glimmer of hope to economic recovery. The GDP review of 2.5% as announced by the MPC plus the IMF revision showed the economy is picking up with inflation rate currently at 10.5%. The IMF is projecting a 2% growth for Ghana's economy. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, says all the leading indicators point to a significant growth in the economy for quarter 3 and 4.
Because we are seeing inflation coming down, we are seeing business and consumer confidence going up. But we all know that in the midst of all of that, we have a very large fiscal deficit which we are financing. And the bulk of the financing of that deficit is coming in on the longer term instruments where non-residents are also participating, and therefore the interest rates on those longer term instruments have to be attractive enough to continue to be of interest to the non-resident depositors. So we are beginning to see a recovery. We are beginning to see economic activity recover. And this, in a sense, reflects some of the factors that affected the downturn in the first place, the lockdown issue and the COVID-related restrictions, all of which impacted negatively on growth in the second quarter. So in the absence of these types of restrictions for the third and fourth quarter, we expect that GDP growth would pick up essentially for the third and fourth quarter.
And that was Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison. Meanwhile, editor of the Gold Street Business newspaper, Tome Mihe, also says the economy is experiencing a rebound which should impact the lives of people before the year ends.
Based on the data has come out, we are in a rebound. You see, the latest composite index of economic activity, which the Bank of Ghana does, every 2 months, shows that we are back in positive territory. The index rose by about 3.4% year on year up to August. Okay, now that CIA the composite index is very, very closely correlated to the economic growth data that comes from the Ghana Statistical Service. All right, one measures value added, one measures economic activity, but one begets the other, so they're always closely correlated. Now, anytime the Bank of Ghana's composite index of economic activity is in positive territory, you can rest assured that economic growth will also be in positive territory, and vice versa. Take note, the composite index for the Bank of Ghana for the year on year up to May, it showed a contraction of 10.6%. So some of us were not surprised at all when the Statistical Service came out, and for second quarter we found the contraction, the actual size of the economy by 3.4%, because of the correlation. Now that the composite index is back in positive territory, you can rest assured that the economic growth statistics, GDP growth, is back in positive territory. And this is up to the middle of the year. Remember, we are just removing the restrictions in phases. All right. So you can expect that from the third quarter, as economic growth will accelerate.
Tom also explains the strong performance of the cedi this year should contribute to the economic recovery drive.
All the data shows that the cedi is going to be stable at least until the beginning of December. All right. There are several reasons. First of all, the data, what shows very clearly is this. The most recent forward sales, forex sales done by the Bank of Ghana, which was about 2 weeks ago, all right, the bids that were made for tenors of up to 60 days, which means for delivery of forex up to the end of November, none of the bids were more than 2% above the spot rate of the cedi at the time that auction was held. Which what it implies is that users of foreign exchange who want to buy to import things, and their bankers who are treasury experts, all believe that the cedi is not going to depreciate, and they've made their bids accordingly on the basis that, hey, look, we're not ready to pay more than what the cedi is right now because the cedi rate is not going to change. All right, and I think that is quite clear. Okay, and I mean, they're doing this for very, very good reason. First of all, even before we get the 1.3 billion which is coming in from Cocoa Board over the next couple of days, our foreign exchange, our gross international reserves are virtually all-time high. If you add the 1.3 billion coming in, it will actually be a record high. We'll be talking about 9.9 billion. We've never had foreign reserves bigger than that in Ghana's history, as far as I know. All right, so that definitely underpins the stability of the cedi.
Tome Mihe is editor for the Gold Street Business, and the cedi is said to have recorded its all-time best performance against the dollar in the first half of 2020 than the first 6 months of any year since 2014. It actually depreciated only 2.36% for 2020. Therefore, this morning, if you need a dollar, you will need 5 cedis 71 pesos. The British pound, on the other hand, is selling at 7 cedis 38 pesos. The euro is going for 6 cedis 69 pesos. The Naira is selling at 67 pesos. The South African rand is going for 35 pesos. And the Chinese yuan is selling at 84 pesos. So how does the growth we are seeing in the economy impacting the market? Here's market analyst Bertha Tubiga with some analysis.
The economy contracted by 3.2% this year against the 5.7% growth rate recorded in the same period last year. Now, many businesses were forced to close during the COVID-19 pandemic, where we had to go into lockdown, and we've seen these measures gradually being eased, and most businesses are back to work and contributing to the economic growth of the country for the manufacturing, the agricultural, the services, and even the financial sector. Now, to talk about it, we've seen, or it's evident that the economy did better or showed signs of recovery, especially in the last months of the third quarter of this year. For instance, the equity market, we've experienced very high volumes trading on the exchange, especially in equities like MTN in Ghana, Cowbank, and GCB. And MTN is a high market capitalized equity, and the plus in this equity actually contributes significantly to the worth of the stock market. Though our market has a chunk of foreign investors, we still see trades taking place, and that is also to tell us that we're seeing some confidence being restored gradually back into the financial sector and onto the equity market. And though the yields are in the negatives, with the composite index at negative 18.23% and the financial stock index at negative 16.96%, it's same with most African countries, because most of these African countries, or most countries around the world, have actually been hard hit by this coronavirus pandemic. And even for the banking sector, we've seen the non-performing loans reduce significantly, and that's also a sign of recovery for the banking sector after the cleanup exercise was done last year. Looking at all this and many other factors, the economy might even see more positive turnarounds in the last quarter of this year and see better returns in the first quarter of 2021.
And that was market analyst Bertha Atubigan. That's it for the update. Back to you, Prince.
Thank you, Nana Oye.
Asaase Business. Asaase Business.
Asaase Business.
Asaase Business AM.
So welcome back. But if you just tuned in today on Tech and Innovation Monday, we are discussing our choice tech innovation with our usual panelists, Felix Darko, our tech expert, and also Nana Oye, our tech entrepreneur. And we are talking about how technology has come to stay in every aspect of our educational system. So I'm going to start with Felix. You just joined us.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, yes. So what are the benefits of EdTech compared to the previous ways of delivering education? Oswald has already talked a lot about how education has improved and how we can improve our own educational system, but then what are the benefits of EdTech?
Well, they're very far-reaching. I think the big one first is accessibility, right? So because you're able to make education available on the internet, which is more or less freely available across the world, now you have people who can sit at home and train to become a software engineer,
Like me.
like Oswald.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Are you trained at home?
I did a computer science degree, but I was always ahead of class. I always learned everything online before.
Sharp guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And honestly, if you see most of the sort of up-and-coming software developers today in Ghana, most of them are self-taught.
Yeah.
They just do courses online.
Yeah.
But I think another big benefit, and I think this is something that is a benefit across the application of tech in any industry, is data, right? And so if you have students learning online or learning on some technology platform, you're able to collect a wealth of data about how these people learn. And I think this is exactly what we need to start improving our education systems. First, you need to understand what's going on. And then you need to analyze and see trends. Do people learn more with visual content, with auditory content? What is the best way of delivering a specific piece of content? So I think that accessibility and data are really, really big benefits of EdTech.
Mm-hmm. So there's a departure from our archaic way of teaching, but it's still happening across the world, especially in Africa, where we have our classroom teaching still very dominant, in our educational system.
Yeah, I think one thing that COVID has also helped us to understand is that education and teaching is not just the role of the teacher. And so parents need to be involved. I also believe that organizations like corporations that hire people at the end of the learning, the academic cycle, need to also be involved in education. And so these days, let's say you're a bank, you can start putting out short courses, training programs to help students who are doing banking and finance, or people who are looking to enter into the banking industry, to help to train people and even mentor people. So there are two things that are missing, not just the learning content, also mentorship as well. And technology helps to bridge these gaps, and also helps parents, because the courses are online. You can have your kids at home, you have a seat or a study where they go to learn, and then you can just try and help them with courses. And that's where I see education going. Teachers are going to become mentors, and so students will be able to read, absorb the content whichever way they want from the digital devices, and then the teachers become mentors who kind of guide them along that way, and then help them to do group exercises and encourage them in those ways. And so technology also helps to bring more players and more stakeholders into the education delivery system.
But there's something really interesting that I've noticed with as you mentioned with COVID. Now a lot of students all across the world are taking classes on Zoom. And you wouldn't believe the craziest things that these kids are doing on Zoom, right? Because now they're at home, it's just a screen. And that's the sort of a very important aspect or impact of the internet, is that people feel so safe behind their computer screens. That's why you see all these internet trolls saying terrible things to people that they would never say in real life. And so you see these kids cussing out their teachers. Some of them are smoking on camera. They don't care, right? So it's also made us realize that a Zoom call. This is not in Ghana, yes, granted, but
I think, sorry, so I think during this lockdown period, my younger brother also had classes on Zoom, and rather it has more or less brought them closer to their teachers, and he told me that they never knew their teachers were that fun. So I think on another level, it has rather improved the relationship between the teachers and students. Like you're saying, it depends on where it's happening.
Right.
And I think back here, it's helped a bit. It's opening the students up to their teachers.
Right. But it also makes us realize that the classroom itself has a certain aspect that we can recreate virtually, right? And so we need to find ways to bring that aspect back into sort of virtual teaching.
Coupled with bad network.
Coupled with bad network. Oh my
bad
God,
networks.
I've been having serious Zoom troubles for the last few months. Can you hear me? Is my mic on? Can you?
That's it. It happens to almost everybody. Okay, let's talk about brain drain. We know it has deprived several countries of their best brains. And then how has EdTech minimized the incidence of brain drain and turned it more into a brain gain?
I spoke a bit on that, about how now you're able to sit here and take courses from Harvard, from Harvard lecturers and places all over the world. And because of that access, you don't need to leave, you don't need to travel. And so we now even have Ghanaian developers who are working remotely for software companies in the US and all over the world. And that actually, you realize how much the impact is, because now these organizations trust that someone can sit in Ghana and then have this level of education from outside the country, and they don't need to necessarily move or prove that they have moved out of the country to for you to have doubts about the quality of education that they've received.
So let me give you some historical perspective on this. Between 2003 and 2010, we worked with a company called Hewlett Packard. I mean, everyone knows Hewlett Packard. And so they had this collaboration with UNESCO, where they realized that a lot of brains from Africa and Eastern Europe were being leaked into the West, as it were. And so they came up with a brain gain initiative called the BGI. Now, the BGI's focus was to introduce cloud technology into some of the big universities across the country. So not the continent, two continents actually, Europe and Africa. And they realized that with that, a lot of the students who were trying to leave their countries to go abroad to study more of a particular subject were staying. Obviously, not every, if you're into the sciences, like some research thing that does not have the facilities.
Robotics and something
in country, you'd have to leave. But then they realized that people taking the social sciences, for instance, were staying. Those doing business entrepreneurship were staying because those things didn't need laboratory sort of environments to be taught.
Does Ghana have a brain gain initiative? Like, is there an initiative to keep people here? Not at all.
I guess UNESCO is international, and so it would also be part of our general, perhaps.
I think the government should have
educational
understanding,
like an
intentional. And I think a lot of countries do that. What I would propose is find young, promising people, and then identify that these people are probably likely to leave because of their ambition and everything, and then put them through special training programs, fully funded programs, and then kind of just tie them to something, an initiative that you want to execute in the future, like a promise of jobs and all that. Bring them back in after their training to start something or to work in a certain area. I think there should be an initiative. There should be a lot of thinking around that area to solve all of this, including providing them access to a lot of these courses online. And I mean, I know there was Udemy, which is a popular online learning website, was free for certain people. They selected a number of people and then they made it free. They gave free access to it. There should be more of that, because you're able to learn a lot of things like that, but it should be intentional.
Sure. So you tell us about the I Am Limitless Academy EdTech initiative.
Yes, so I Am Limitless Academy is our EdTech situation, and it's an inception program. Basically, inception is like sowing an idea into a person's head and then letting the idea take root, and then it drives them. So there's a lot of limitation. I mean, yesterday I saw a video, and then there was a little girl who was asked, "What do you want to do in future?" And she was like, "Men no mutu." And I was like, you can't blame her.
Right.
I mean, that's really absurd. Another person was like, I want to be a driver.
It's actually not absurd. I mean, she'll
be a mother,
and make more money.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I totally agree with you.
Well,
I'm
children say the weirdest of things. I've heard one saying she wanted to be a pole dancer.
Oh, okay.
I have actually been in a class when I was in class
Somebody
1.
should go protect that child.
Yeah.
I had a classmate who was asked,
now.
I had a classmate, and we're all asked, "What do you want to be?" And then this guy said he wants to be an armed robber. That's the most absurd one I have seen, and I was trying to just if I have heard people say, I mean, I don't know who grows up to say they want to become this. And there's not a problem with selling omutuo. There are millionaires who sell omutuo. I mean, who own restaurants. I'm trying to say that they own restaurants which sell omutuo. Yeah. The problem is, if you are so limited in your thinking that you don't understand enough of the world to be able to see the entire world and then choose to say, I want to sell omutuo, that's different compared to all you've seen is a carpenter, a driver, an omutuo seller, and that's the limit. And so we are trying to expand the limits and to show people that there are unlimited resources, there are unlimited things that you can do, and the way to achieve this is through learning and providing people with enough education, enough learning. And to address these 3 things that I spoke about earlier: access to education, quality of education, and then content of education. And so we have a website, limitless.academy, and at the moment, there are just IT courses on there for people to learn IT. So if you want to learn web development, solution architecture, and other stuff, you can actually go there and learn. We are currently working with chartered accountants, professionals in photography, catering, and we have something we call augmented education, which is generally not what you learn in the educational curriculum, because there are things that are missing that you need for life. For example, nobody teaches you how to manage your finances. So there's no personal finance management. People learn personal finance management after getting into the job market, earning money, making a lot of financial mistakes, and then realizing around 35 to 40 that this is not the way to handle money, when they should have learned that from childhood to be able to practice. I always say that if I knew about money, if I thought about money the way I think about it now, I would have been a millionaire by now. And I'm very sure of that because I would have started setting
We're all very
savings
sure of that.
and investments. Yeah,
I know.
I mean, yeah. So that's the point because so a lot of things are not there. Taking care of your body, nutrition, a lot of things are not taught which you actually need for life.
So I'm
soft
Limitless.
skills and
What
more.
are the solutions you're bringing on board? Briefly, 3.
So basically, one, we are delivering education content 24/7 online from professionals. So we have education, these contents, and we have different kinds of content delivery. For example, virtual reality tours. We are looking at digital art to help people to understand the way things work. For example, you can't show someone an atom here, but you can do it with digital art. You can do an animation to teach people. And so with augmented education, we are also looking at ways in which professionals can be able to mentor people. So that's the third section, mentorship. And we are talking to industry professionals to pick 2 or 3 people, or maybe 5 people, students, that they can mentor. And so I can be doing a computer science course in the university and be mentored at the same time by a professional software developer in the industry. So he tells me, do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. This is better for you. Maybe you would like to consider this. And that kind of guidance helps to bring the knowledge that you only gain in the job market back to the students and helps this initiative. So,
all right. So Felix, you're quite aligned to what Oswald has been saying.
Right.
And you have an issue with how tech is taught in our schools.
Right. So I think sort of flipping it on its head. So there's EdTech, which is using technology to teach. But I think on the flip side, teaching technology, I think there's a big deficit in our current school systems. When you look across, even the sort of A levels and IB, not to talk of our Ghanaian curriculum. It's really, the focus is usually on computer studies or ICT studies, and so usually they are taught how to use Microsoft Office and play with spreadsheets. Maybe they do a little bit with databases or Visual Basic, but a lot of the things that are taught are either very outdated or not very relevant. A lot of these things that are taught, you will never have to use it in your life, even if you were in the technology field, unless you were very specifically an IT admin at a company managing their network, which is a very, very, very small subsegment, right, of the usually I actually get very offended when somebody says, "Oh, you're in IT." I'm like, no. No, I'm a computer engineer. Big difference. So a
lot of people call me IT guy.
Right.
In general.
Please fix my internet.
You should clarify.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Right.
I mean,
it's
an IT
vast,
guy.
it's huge.
No, I mean, summarize it for people to understand.
So what I think is most relevant to teach today is computer science. And so computer science is, on one hand, the study of how computers work. So all the way down from binary, which is zeros and ones, that's a very basic building blocks of modern digital technology, to actual software programming, right? Because I think, especially in today's world, software programming is one of those key skills that I think everyone should have. No matter what field you're in, whether it's finance, it's engineering, it's medicine, software programming will be relevant to you. You're able to build anything that your brain can think of. You're able to build in software, as long as it doesn't involve doing physical things. And even there, you can attach robotics to your software, and then you can start to move around things in the real world.
There's another thing I know UNESCO is pushing, and I know Ghana has also been trying to adopt those systems. It's called the STEM or the STEAM.
STEM.
Depending on where you're coming from. I know the United States are trying to push STEAM. The rest of the world is trying to push STEM. STEM. So
what's the
STEAM.
A?
The A is art, actually, because for them, art broadens your
fair. Different, but I think that's a different.
Well,
you can do STEM and you can do A.
Yes, but the thing is, someone gave me a really wonderful explanation as to why the A should be adopted as well, because it sort of opens the scope, your imagination of the tech guy, because it's quite, mathematics can kind of lock you into and they were talking about why philosophy was very important to old mathematicians, ancient mathematicians. It broadened their scope, and that's why some of these things are being pushed.
Well, I mean, in the past, mathematics was actually one and the same as philosophy, right? Logos, the practice of logic,
right?
And I think that I personally believe in a sort of liberal arts education, right? So even if you go into a very, very technical field, that foundation of social sciences should always be there, right? Because we are humans, we live in a society, we live with these systems every day. We should be aware of how they operate.
Yeah, and philosophy makes you question things.
Exactly.
The why, and the why is very important in mathematics.
I think science and art complement each other, and science is artistic, and then art is scientific. It's a chicken and egg, which came first kind of situation. And so technology, mathematics are not used on their own. I don't just know calculus and walk around like, hey, I know calculus. But people use calculus to construct roads, bridges, and so many things, production and manufacturing and all that. So you realize that the sciences feed into certain kinds of artistic ventures in the end.
So we agree that should be
it's important to STEM. Actually have a holistic view of things.
Science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Rather than just science, technology, engineering.
I still need to give that a little more thought.
Yeah.
And also see the argument from the STEM side.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, art is definitely important in it, but I think the focus on STEM is that we want to build capacity in these fields, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, because we have a deficit there. Should we, have a nice art package around that? Sure. But I think here again the focus is on STEM because that's specifically what we need to build capacity for.
I think you didn't finish with the difference between an IT guy and you explain the computer scientist or now the IT person.
So IT stands for information technology or ICT, information communication technology, which is more about not the computers themselves, but rather the information that's flowing between things, right? So that's more about managing databases. It's more about managing a network. Again, a network is all about just information flow back and forth. And so that's really where IT comes in, right? So no offense to any IT guys out there. You guys, keep our internet and our computers working great, and you make sure that our databases are good. But IT is usually a support function, whereas computer science, or let's say software engineering, is much more you're building. It's much more active.
Okay. Now let's talk about examinations and the impact of tech in conducting exams. Also, why are you laughing?
I think it's a very interesting topic to discuss.
I remembered something.
Yeah. So you finish.
Yeah. So the impact of tech on conducting exams.
Yeah, so I want to say that exams at the moment need to be looked at and probably thrown out of the window at the moment because the things that we are examining are not necessary to examine in this day and age. Like I always say, I think I'm the smartest person in the world because I have access to Google. Yeah. And so I can answer any question as long as you give me 30 seconds to, or maybe 5-10 seconds to Google it.
How fast your internet is.
Yes, how fast the internet is, So if you want to examine me based on information from a criteria that was developed about 10 or 15 years ago, and when there were no tools to hold information and have it readily accessible, I mean, it's a wrong way to look at things. And something people call cheating in exams, that's like collaborating in exams. Say, hey, I know everything except I know everything.
So funny.
No, I know everything except 0.5. Can you, what do you have for 0.5? That's how we work in offices. That's how we collaborate. There are ways in which we put our resources together. So we need to look at it again.
All right. So, all too soon, as we say, our time is up.
Unfortunate.
From collaboration, cheating to collaboration. All right. So it's been fun having you here with us, Oswald and Nona Daga and Felix Darko. So we will be back next Monday with more tech things, and you'll hear more about the rebound of the economy and the strength of a city.
Exactly. At 12.
At 12 and 1.
5 as well.
And 5 o'clock as well.
A lot of cities.
A lot of CDs.
I like it.
A lot of CDs. Yeah. All right then. So we will see you again next week for Tech Monday.
Bye bye.
Asaase Business.
Asaase Business.
Asaase Business AM.
McDan Shipping is undoubtedly the market leader in free